Hey guys, so earlier this week, I put up a post that sources told me RFK Jr. was dropping out of the race and endorsing Trump. And then a couple days later, I made a video why he's dropping out and endorsing Trump. And then he actually dropped out and endorsed Trump. And I'm going to tell you what my sources were. It's nothing mysterious. And I'm going to tell you why this matters and why this is a big deal. The Democrats are trying to act like this isn't a big deal. And when I say Democrats, I mean the Democrat Party and the media, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times are really trying to downplay this. So I'm just a blue collar guy. It's not like I have these great sources or anything, but I do get some inside information here and there because I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. I'm not afraid to reach out to anyone. Matter of fact, I had a Robert P. George on the show, Dr. Robert P. George on Blue Collar and a Scholar. And he was friends with Dr. Cornel West. Now, Dr. Robert P. George is a very conservative Catholic man, politically as conservative as you could get. Dr. Cornel West is as liberal as you could get, as far left as you could get. I believe he's a Baptist Christian. And they're friends, and they're friends because they're like me. Just because they disagree politically doesn't mean they can't be friends. So although I'm a Trump supporter, I reached out to the RFK campaign to give them a chance on the site. Hey, come on my site. I know they're censoring you in the media. You can come on Blue Collar and Catholic. We're not that big, but you'll talk to, a lot of people. I'm sure it'll go viral. And then I had reached out to Cornel West, and his campaign actually agreed to come on. So then I was reaching out to RFK saying, hey, how about you guys come and debate since the Democrat Party is censoring you guys and the Democrat media is censoring you guys, come on YouTube and debate. I thought it was a great idea. And it never happened, but I was in contact with someone from RFK Jr.'s campaign. And they didn't outright tell me, but they led me to believe I was, they said it in other words, like I knew what they were saying, that he was dropping out. I knew that on Monday. I didn't say anything until I thought it was going to be a surprise. I didn't want to blow the surprise. But then I seen that it was starting to come out little by little in drips and drabs. So I posted it. So that's my great source. And Cornel West still is agreeing to come on. I just don't know. It's been going for a while where he agreed. So hopefully he'll come on soon. So now I lost my train of thought. So anyhow, the media is playing this out. Like, I listened to the whole speech. I had to turn in my old truck. We're getting new trucks for my company. So I had to turn in my old truck, and I had to wait for my son to get off of work to pick me up. So I had time to kill, and I had the radio on. And I heard RFK Jr.'s whole speech on the radio. It was brilliant. It was probably one of the best political speeches I ever heard in my life. And I asked my friends if they seen it. They said, I was watching on CNN. And as soon as he started, like within a minute, they went away from him. I said, yeah, because he started blasting the Democrat Party. And my friends that watched it on every other news, ABC, NBC, they all pulled away because they didn't want to hear what he said. So I actually went and Googled the CNN report to see how they did it. And this is what happened. This is very interesting. And it's leading up to why this is so important. So he comes on and he says, my father, RFK, and my uncle, JFK, fought corruption. But the corruption today is the Democrat Party. They're in bed with the most corrupt players. And this is why I had no choice but to drop out and endorse Donald Trump. And then they pull away. And they said, oh, yeah, he gave his reasons for following Trump. He said, like him and Trump, they don't want to help Ukraine. They just want their friend Vladimir Putin to take over Ukraine. And that was a bald-faced lie. What they didn't tell you was what RFK Jr. said was the war, Russia invaded Ukraine in February of 2022. In March of 2022, a month later, before a bunch of people got killed, Putin and Zelensky signed a peace deal. And Putin was going to pull out. And I actually did a video on my YouTube, on my Rumble channel, because at the time I was using Rumble for politics and stuff that you can't say here. And you could go on there and see all the details were there. This is 2022. And Joe Biden sent Boris Johnson to tell Zelensky, tear up that deal. We don't want a peace deal. We want regime change. We want to remove Vladimir Putin. And what happened? 600,000 Ukraine children have died. 100,000 Russian children have died since then. That's what RFK Jr. was saying. That's what Donald Trump is saying. He's not saying, don't help Ukraine. He's saying, sign the deal. And RFK Jr. said, Donald Trump has publicly said he'll get them to sign that deal and pull out his first day. He actually said he'll do it once he's elected. You know, it's a couple months after the election, before you actually take office, he'll have them pull out. All he's got to do is say, sign the deal. So that's how the media twists things. Then they say, yeah, RFK is a joke. Now just think about it. This is a Kennedy. The Kennedys are royalty in the Democrat Party. America loves the Kennedys. But because he attacked their golden calf, their golden goose. See, he was a darling of the left when he was going against the environmental polluters. When he was going against all these companies that were polluting the water and these kids were getting poisoned from the pollution, the left loved him. But then when he met parents, said, my children are getting sick from these childhood medicines they're giving, and can you look into it? Because I think it's the same poisons are putting in our water. And when he discovered that Big Pharma were putting the same poisons in these childhood jabs, he exposed it. Well, Big Pharma pays 80% of big media's bills. Big Pharma pays 80% of Democrat Party donations. So they attacked him, called him a lunatic. But what they didn't say was, in his speech, JFK points out facts. He was just dropping truth bombs, verifiable facts, that in the year 2000, 1 in 15,000 American children had autism. Today, it's 1 in 46. This is a child health crisis. No one's talking about it except him and Donald Trump. When he was a kid, childhood diabetes was unheard of. Maybe a doctor in 40 years would come across one child with diabetes or pre-diabetes, an adolescent. Today, 50% of the kids are either pre-diabetic or diabetic. Today, 50% of the kids are either obese or overweight. Today, 50% of the kids have ADHD, ADD, all these diseases we never heard of when we were kids. And nobody's asking why. They're just, the pharmaceutical companies are producing medicine and making millions. I just read a book, Big Pharma, Big Lie, Big Food, Big Lie. And this doctor says, first, they make the medicine, and then they create the disease. So symptoms that people have had their whole life, they'll say, oh, this is this disease. A misbehaved, undisciplined kid. Now you got ADHD, but don't worry. We got this psychotropic drug that'll help your child. And then they're on these drugs the rest of their life. I'm probably saying too much right now. This is why I have my Rumble channel, because I could get pulled down, because Google is sold out to Big Pharma too. So Donald Trump is making a commission to look into childhood diseases. Why are children so sick? Why do we spend far more than any other country on healthcare, and we have the worst outcomes? We're like 79th in health, 79th, and our kids are paying the price. Kids are eating food aimed at them, full of poison. Medicine aimed at them, full of poison. And JFK said the only man that's listening, the only man that's willing to do something is Donald Trump. So he's going to get us out of the war in Ukraine. He's going to attack childhood diseases. And the number 3 thing he said was, he's going to stop this censorship. RFK Jr. said, if you look throughout history, whenever a group of people would censor, they always, without fail, turn out to be the bad guys. Communist censors, socialist censors. Americans, we believe in freedom of speech. And the great ideal of freedom of speech is it doesn't protect speech that everybody likes. It protects speech that most people don't like. That's the First Amendment. That's basic Americanism that the left hates. And not only do they hate free speech, they hate free elections. You see how the Democrat Party, it's admitted, I got pulled down for demonetized for like 6 months for saying this about the 2020 election, but the Julian Assange proved to his emails and people got fired because in 2016, the Democrats rigged their election to make Bernie Sanders lose. They picked Hillary. There's a proof, the evidence is there, emails are there. And then in 2020, they wouldn't allow anyone to primary Joe Biden. If JFK had one debate, he would have knocked Joe Biden out of the box. But they hit Joe Biden. The media that's lying, saying RFK Jr. is a lunatic, is the same media that just until like 2 months ago said Joe Biden's sharp as a whip. And when Republicans would show videos of him, proving that he has dementia, they're like, oh, these are cheap fakes. They're AI. And they were calling us liars. The same media that 4 months ago was saying, these liberals were worried that Kamala was a drag on the ticket. Joe Biden needs to replace her, maybe with Gavin Newsom or somebody. Now, she's, the second coming. Now she's, Joan of Arc. Now she's, Margaret Thatcher. The media's like building her up. They're gaslighting us. They're lying. And they refused to have a Democratic primary. Trump beat a lot of guys. In 2016, nobody wanted him to be president. None of the Republicans wanted him. He beat like 16 strong governors and senators in the Republican Party. 2020, again, he just had a 2024. He just had some strong DeSantis, Nikki Haley had some strong people going against him, and he won fair and square. The Democrats refused RFK Jr. This guy, Dean Phillips, just a super nice guy from Minnesota, Democrat. I'm sure he's, he's a liberal Dem, but just a genuine guy saying, I love Joe Biden, but he has dementia. Dude, they destroyed this guy. They wouldn't let him debate. No, Joe Biden's perfect. They fought. They used lawfare. They used the law to fight to get JFK off of ballots. In fact, Cornel West just won a lawsuit Friday. They tried to take him off ballots, and he's like the Democrat Party. He's a lifelong Democrat. RFK Jr. is a lifelong Democrat. It's like the Democrat Party is just like, they're like communists. They want everybody off. It's who they pick. They're like dictatorships, and they project just like the communists, and they'll say, Trump's a danger to democracy, when these guys do not believe in democracy. They're very dangerous. Even Jill Stein in Michigan, they're trying to get her off the ballot because they're afraid she's going to take the Muslim pro-Hamas vote away from them, because there's a lot of pro-Hamas Democrats in Michigan. And this is why Democrats like Van Jones and other Democrat strategists, David Axelrod, they admitted that Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania would have been her best pick, because Pennsylvania's a big state. Whoever wins Pennsylvania wins. And she didn't pick Shapiro because he was a Jew, and that would upset the pro-Hamas vote they get in Michigan. And now Jill Stein is chipping away on that vote. And so they're trying to keep her off the ballot. They tried to take Trump off the ballot. Actually, Colorado took him off the ballot. He had to go to the Supreme Court to force him back on. And their excuse was, well, the Constitution says we can't allow insurrectionists on the ballot. And they're like, yeah, but he's not an insurrectionist. He was never even charged with that. People say that, but he's never been charged with that. He's never been convicted of that. These people they don't even want Trump on the ballot. So they put all these bogus lawsuits against him. They do not want a fair election. And, but we're winning because, we have a balance of power, and there's enough good judges to stop this communist push that the Democrats are trying to push. So this is a big deal that RFK Jr. is endorsing Trump. This is a big deal because he was carrying 5% of the vote. And in the swing states that we have to win, 8%. And 80% of the people that stuck with him said they'll vote for Trump now. So this is huge. They're trying to downplay it, but this is huge. Now, you might say, well, what's so good about Trump? He's not pro-life anymore. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. First of all, let me say this. We're not voting on a saint. We're voting on a leader who's going to lead our country. So look what he did the first 4 years. He said he was going to come in. He said he was going to appoint 3 originalist judges, 2, maybe 3, he said. But either way, it'll be enough to overturn Roe v. Wade. People laughed at him, and he did it. Ronald Reagan said he was going to do it. George Bush said he would do it. George W. Bush said he was going to do it. In fact, George W. Bush's first pick for the Supreme Court was Harriet Miers, a pro-choice lawyer. And the only reason she didn't get on the bench was the conservative think tank Heritage Foundation told all the Republican senators in the committee, in the Judicial Committee, that this woman was a pro-choice liberal and she doesn't know the Constitution. Ask her questions about the Constitutions and she'll fail. And she failed miserably, so bad that they didn't even bring it to the floor. She didn't even make it out of committee. But if it was up to Bush, he would have had a pro-choice, and he talked like he was this great Christian, born-again Christian, pro-life Christian man. Trump said, I'm not the most religious guy, but I'll be the best protector of religious people. And he was, Not only that, he said he would get rid of taxpayers paying for abortions overseas. It's called the Mexico City policy that, in fact, one of the guests on Blue Collar and a Scholar, Dr. Alan Keyes, wrote for Ronald Reagan. And he said not only did Donald Trump bring it back, because of course Obama got rid of it. He was the most pro-abortion president until these 2 clowns in the White House today. He said not only did Donald Trump bring it back, but he expanded it. And he's going to do that when he comes back too. So people are like, well, he's saying he's not going to sign a federal abortion ban. He's not going to sign a ban of banning abortion pills nationally because he's a Republican. He believes in a Republican, states' rights. He said, you guys wanted me to bring it back to the states. I brought it back to the states. But what he won't do is what Kamala Harris promised to do. Kamala Harris promised to get rid of the filibuster and sign a bill codifying Roe v. Wade, making it illegal for any state to put zero restrictions on abortion. He's not going to do what Kamala Harris promised, to get rid of the Mexico City policy and start spending for overseas abortions again. And probably most importantly, he's going to put original judges in that will enforce these pro-life laws in each state. Just Friday, I read about a woman who the Biden administration was trying to put in jail for protesting in front of a abortion clinic. And a judge appointed by Donald Trump said that's unconstitutional. She has freedom of speech and she's not going to jail. But the Biden administration got one of their judges to convict an 89-year-old woman who survived a communist death camp when she was a child, a gulag where her family was killed. She's 89 years old and she's convicted for blocking an abortion clinic, and the Obama administration is going after her. They want her to get the full punishment, which will be life in prison. Well, it'll be 20 years, but she's 89. So Biden's about to give this woman a death sentence for protecting unborn children. And there's no doubt in anyone's mind that knows Donald Trump that he'll get that woman out. He'll pardon that woman. There's no doubt. And so in 3.5 years, Joe Biden put more judges in than Trump put in. If he's here another 4 years, Kamala is just the Democrat machine. They don't care who's there. They're puppets for the billionaire donors that run them. So she'll do the same thing that Biden did with the judges, same thing Obama did. We get 4 years of Trump, we're going to have more originalist judges that interpret the Constitution, not make up law. And Kamala Harris has promised to get rid of the filibuster, to make D.C. a state, make Puerto Rico a state, so they can have Democrat rule forever. This is what they want. This is what they're looking to get. They're very dangerous. And you see, they don't like democracy in their own party. If they can get it to the whole country, just force them like these Venezuela does. They put 2 names on it, but you know who's going to win. That's what they're trying to get. They're telling us this. And getting back to Ukraine, 600,000 Ukraine people have died from this war. When there was going to be a peace deal 2 years ago, and Joe Biden convinced Zelensky not to sign it. It's because his friends in the military-industrial complex, In fact, the conservatives always say they're against war, but George Bush got us into Afghanistan, then he got us into Iraq. And the plan was, people don't remember this, but the plan was to go through Iraq and then go through Iran. Because remember, they were at war for like 100 years. So they just kind of like, it's like what do you call it? Whitewash, like they kind of just losing the train of thought there. But they couldn't fight nobody else because they were fighting each other. We got rid of Iraq, and all of a sudden Iran's this great power in the Middle East. But the original plan was to go to Iran. They wanted to fight Iran too. But we got bogged down in Iraq for 20 years. We didn't have that. We didn't have that with Trump. He wasn't going into no new places. In fact, under Bush, he allowed Putin to take over Georgia. Under Obama, he allowed Putin to go into Ukraine. If you remember, before his re-election, Obama was caught on a mic, a hot mic. He didn't know anybody was talking. He was talking to the president of Russia. And he said, Vlad, like he called Vladimir Putin Vlad, like they're buddies. Tell Vlad I'll have more flexibility once I'm elected. Once I'm reelected, I can work with him. I can give him what he wants. He's caught saying this. And what was he saying to response to? The president of Russia saying, Vlad is really upset with you guys putting missiles in Poland to protect Europe. He's like, don't worry about it. And then once he got reelected, he canceled those missiles in Poland to protect Europe. And Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. He took Crimea. And they begged Obama for weapons. He wouldn't send weapons. Instead, he said MREs and blankets, food and blankets. When Trump got in, he told Vladimir Putin, if you invade Ukraine again, I'll drop a bomb on Moscow. Mike Pompeo said Putin looked at him funny, and 90% of them didn't believe he would do it, but that 10% had him scared. The unpredictability of Trump had him a little scared. And Trump also gave Ukraine the weapons they needed. The weapons they were begging Obama for, Trump gave it to them right at the beginning so they could protect themselves. And not only that, he sent hundreds of Green Berets to train their soldiers for years. This is why the Ukraine soldier is such a better fighter. You ever wonder why you see the fights? It's like the Russian soldiers suck compared to the Ukraine soldiers because they got trained by the best in the world, the Green Berets. So for the CNN to lie and say they just want to let Vladimir Putin go through. No, we want peace. Peace through strength. Economic strength, because also Trump knew this, that Russia funds their country on oil. That's 90% of their revenue comes from oil sales. Once he unleashed American oil and we were energy independent, the price of oil went so low, it was like $30 a barrel. Russia could barely fund their country, never mind fund a war. But under Biden, when Putin invaded, the price of oil was he waited till it got to $100 a barrel. So then he had the money. So when you hear these liberals say, oh, Trump wants Putin to invade Ukraine, they're lying. We just want him out peacefully. We just want peace through strength. So wait a minute, Jack, I'll be right there. I'll take my grandson to my other grandson's house to play. So I'm going to have to cut this short. But anyway, RFK Jr. endorsing Trump is huge. The media is going to try and say it's not a big deal. But in sales, momentum is everything. And a political campaign is one big sales pitch. And they had the momentum, the Democrats did, coming out of the convention Thursday night, all excited. And then with one speech, Bobby Kennedy just stole that momentum and handed it to the next president of the United States, Donald Trump. And if you're Catholic, you should be excited about this because less wars mean less innocent lives will be killed. And although he doesn't have the total Catholic anti-abortion stance, pro-life stance that we would like him to have. He's 100 times more pro-life than Kamala. 100 times more pro-life. And in fact, another source, and maybe one day I'll be able to reveal this, close to the Trump's campaign, says when Trump went in the White House in 2016, Melania had a priest come and bless the house and exorcise the White House, have an exorcism of the White House. And that Melania Trump, humbly and quietly, without any braggadocio or cameras, went to Mass every day. Melania Trump went to daily Mass and prayed the rosary every day. So if you were wondering about that miracle of the bullet just grazing his ear, I think we can thank Melania's prayers for her husband. So God bless and stay Catholic and pray for Trump, because, you know, the Bible says a humble wife who loves the Lord can lead her husband to the Lord. And I don't know his relationship with God. You know, if he has I don't know. You know, I don't know his heart. I don't know his mind. But all things are possible for them who believe. So let's believe for a huge conversion of Donald Trump. God bless and stay Catholic.